Hello and welcome to my video review. No, not video review. What am I talking about? This is a quick tutorial, like an absolute beginner's tutorial, on how to write a song on the OP-1. The OP-1 is still a very popular device, even though it's quite old. But you know, it's a great little machine. It's a great little groove box, and it's a musical notepad. So even 8 years after its release, it's still highly sought after, and there's a reason for that. Is because it's just such a versatile device. So today we're going to go over the very absolute basics of making a song on it. I'm not going to go totally into the features on it, just a few of the features, and show you how to make a song from start to finish, the building blocks of it, so that you can do it yourself and see how easy the process is. If you're on the fence and wondering if you want to get yourself an OP-1, then and you're wondering if it'll be right for you, then maybe this video will be exactly what you need to push you over the edge. Ooh. For the video review, I've got a couple things. I've got a speaker over here, so I won't be going line in on the phone for this, because it's too much of a hassle to set up. And then over here I have the Dreadbox Medusa, and I'm using this, and I have a cat over there. I'm using this to show you how you can record into the OP-1, so you can actually use an unlimited amount of devices in the tracks for the songs, for whatever songs you're doing. So in the OP-1, you're going to be using a 4-track system. There's track 1, 2, 3, and 4. So these buttons right here select, whoops, let me go back to tape here. These buttons select the track, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Depending on what screen you're in, these buttons do different things. If you're in the synthesizer screen right here, then 1, 2, 3, and 4 will be your synth engine settings, your envelope, your effects, and your LFO. In the drum screen, it's very similar. It's the drum shape here, your envelope right here, your effects screen, and your LFO. So for the tape screen, it's your different tracks. For the synth engine and the drum engine or sample engine, drum sample engine, it is sound, envelope, effects, and LFO. Okay, let me try to stay with my mind on track here. So let's look at step 1 on here. Step 1, you're probably going to want to make a beat. Okay, so I select my drums right here, and I have all of these buttons right here will let me select, all up to 8 will let me select the different drums that I have. So for here, pretty cool. And then I can select the second one. Oops. Different ones. Another set. So as you can get the feeling here of what each one of these ones is a different one. Now, let's say, for example, that you don't like the drums on number 2. You can hold Shift and press 2 while you're in the drums screen. Hold Shift, press 2, and then you've got D-Box and Drum, okay? And basically what those are different presets. So here it's on Applefly, you can hear it. Pretty cool, not bad. Then I can select down here using the green knob for the green ones here. Turn that, and there's Cuckoo's Nest. Different ones. Dem drums. Lo-fi. Matte. So getting out of the screen right here, let's just press 2 to get out of it. Going back into it one more time. I'm going to show you how to do this one more time, because this is very important for also the synthesizers, selecting different synthesizers. Just hold Shift and press the number that you want to edit, and you'll get the screen there with options on the left, which is your basically your package of different ones in there, and then your presets. And the presets are different samples and sounds. If we get out of here, you see on screen 1 there is the wave shape, and that's because in this screen, D-Box is actually a drum synth, and drum are packs. They're packs of samples. So on D-Box, you can actually select one right here, and then get out of there. So we're on 2. And then you actually have a drum engine that you can mess around with. Getting kind of into the harmonic range there. You can change the shape of every single sample, or not sample, but every single drum in this pack here. So pretty cool. If you hold Shift, you see that there's one set of things up here and one set of things down here. And then in here, there's an inner ring and an outer ring. So when you hold Shift, you're going to adjust the one down there, and you're going to adjust the one down here, and so on and so forth with the colored knobs. So here, if we listen, now let's hold Shift. Okay. Pretty cool. So we can mess around with that all we want, and if we don't like it, again, we can hold Shift. Right now we're on this selection. I've already made some adjustments to 2 of it, but you could, technically speaking, adjust all of the sounds, all of each per key, all of the sounds on there, and it will save it into there. So it's pretty cool. So let's stick to this one for now, and we're going to make ourselves a beat. Now, for the beat, you could try to record it into the tape by actually doing it by hand. But this would be really hard to do into the tape without any metronome or anything to tell you like your timing. So I find that the best sequencer on here, this thing has an array of sequencers. If I hold Shift and press the sequencer button, which is right over here, so hold Shift, press the sequencer button, it brings me to the selection of different sequencers. And to be honest with you, I don't use any of them except for the endless. So the endless works like this. It's not actually endless, it's 128 steps. It works both with the drums and with the sequencer, and with the synthesizers. And the drum and synthesizer sequencers are separated, so you don't have to worry about overwriting for the drums or overwriting for the synths. They are separate. So in here you can hear one that I've already made. If I hold, this is your key, like your core note. If I hold a higher one, so it changes the note if you go. Yeah, hold it. But aside from that, so if you want to change it, if you want to like write one, you hold the Shift button and just like that. Just hold Shift and whatever you press will be stepped. If you want to have an empty note, so let's say kick 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm pressing the arrow button right here, and I can go back as well. But it's important to remember that if you're making very long sequences and you let go of the Shift button, what you have is what you get, and you can't edit it. You can only make a new one. So it's kind of a pain in the butt. Right now it's just a kick, and it's just going to the beat like to the tempo that we have set in there, which is 82.7. So let's go back into our sequencer right here, and let's write ourselves a sequence. Remember, if you are writing something like this, and then you let go, that's what you have. You cannot hold shift and go back and forward and change it. It's going to start at 0 again. Okay? If you let go, it'll go back to what you still have. Okay, so I'm going to hold shift. Remember, again, if you want to skip notes or skip steps, just like press the button that you want. Skip, skip. You can go back, back. Skip, skip. So now it has silence on the steps that I skipped. So you can do that. Let's start getting into a beat. I'm going to do a pretty simple beat here. I'm going to do a hi-hat in between kick and snare. Oops, I think I messed that one up. Okay, let me do it a little slower. There we go, 32 steps. If I hold it. If I turn the blue knob, it will change the division, so it'll speed it up or slow it down. That's 1/8. Go back up to 1/16. Go up to 132. A little too crazy for me. 1/16 is about perfect. I can also change the swing with the green knob. Pretty cool. Make it go crazy. Yeah, I like it being at 50 though. It's as recorded. Okay, so now that we have ourselves a very simple beat, remember what we did there? We went into the sequencer by pressing, oops, that's the sequencer off. So we're in here in the drums, drum synthesizer. We clicked on the sequencer. If we don't have the right sequencer to start with, the endless is the one you want, so just hold shift. Go into here. You have all yours to choose from. I'm not going to go into all the other ones because we're going for ease right here. So endless it is. Press the sequencer button. Here we are. Technically speaking, I think you can write I don't know what this one does, so let's just stop that and get out of here. Oh my gosh. Go back into our endless here. And it saved it. Cool. So I think you could actually write sequences on all of the different sequencers and bring them into play whenever you want to. If you want to turn off the sequencer, just hit the button again. On, off, on, off. From this screen, one thing I will show you, let's go back into our drum sequencer. So outside of the, go back into our drums outside of the sequencer. On our different pages here, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. 3 is our effects, so if you hold shift and you press 3, it will give you the different effects here. So there's CWO, which looks like a cow, and if we hear it, kind of does some weird funky things, and you can turn these knobs in real time and get different sounds. Kind of cool. Very neat. Very cool. It's very rhythmic and sounds kind of neat. Okay, if you ever want to turn off the effect, just hit the effect button again and it'll turn it off. So you go into that screen, double tap it to turn it off and on. I haven't had so much luck using the LFOs on this device. Like, I don't know. I can't say I haven't had luck. I've used them, but I don't generally use a lot of LFOs in any of my music. I guess I'm just pretty basic. So let's keep that off. Let's go turn this off again just to get back to the regular beat. You could turn on a delay if you want to. So let's see here. I've held Shift, press on the effects button, go down to delay, press the effects button again. The way that the delay works is that it has a speed that it reflects and also a distance. So right now, basically making the wall closer or further away. Yeah. I'm going to turn off the effects. I don't really want to have a delay on my drum. Okay, so we have our sequence right here, 32 steps long. We have our drum pack sorted out or picked out. Now, it is worth noting that, like, if I go back here to my drum selection here and I press this, you can actually audition other drums with the same sequence. So, holding this button, that one's pretty tight. Go back to the one we had. One sounds pretty good too. I think I'm going to use one. I like that one. Not sure what it's called. Let's see. This one's called Acetate. Yeah, it's a built-in drum pack. So, go back to one here. Sounds pretty good. How do we start recording? Well, go back to the tape, which is this button right here. It looks like a little tape. And what you'll see is we've got, if you hold Shift, you can go between bars. So as you press the left and right buttons down here, I go to the right one bar, to the right one bar, to the right one bar, to the right one bar. So that's 4 bars right there. I find that's a pretty good space to work in. So I've pressed 1 here. Oops. I've pressed 1 here. If I hold Shift and press 1, if I hold Shift and press different buttons, I can like zoom in and zoom out and stuff like that. Okay, so I pressed 1 here, the little one, not the big one down here. Press the little one down here, and that gives us a start. Then I go 1, like holding Shift, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I press 2, and that gives me the end of the area that I'm working with. So it's just going to play in those 4 bars right now, but that's what I want to work in. So also if I press stop, it's going to bring me back to the start of the bars I'm working in. This is important to know when you're actually writing a song, so that if you go into the next set of 4 bars, you're going to go to that start of that and press 1, and then you're going to go ahead 4 bars by holding Shift and pressing the right key 4 times, and then you're going to press 2 in order to set the end point. And then you can work in there. And I'll show you a little trick about how to bring your work in these bars ahead to your next bars. So let's start the song off with just a beat. How do we do it? We have our drums here. It's important to know that I've selected drums, right? Go to the tape. That's what plays. If I select my synth and I go to the tape, it's synthesizer. So for now we want the drums. Go back to the tape. Now we hold record and press whatever note you want to start at. Remember, it's gonna just go up or down. It's gonna change the pitch. Okay, it's gonna keep the same same timing, but it's going to change the pitch. So we're going to hold record and press the first one here, which is the core note. Oh, sorry, one sec. I just made a mistake. I started recording on the 4th track. I never put my beat on the 4th track. You can if you want to, but usually I have my drums on the 1st track, my bass line on the 2nd track, and then my melody or whatever like samples and stuff like that on 3 and 4. And there's a reason I do it like this, and I'll show you in a little bit. But let's start off by lifting this, which is basically delete. I'm going to lift that, and you can't really see it on there, but if I drop it again, it's still basically in the RAM of the system. So I can lift and drop, just like that. I can also lift from this track, go to track 1, and drop it there. So it's kind of cool. You can bounce tracks up and down. But I didn't finish recording that. But let's say, for example, let's go back to 4. Let's say I wanted to record this on 1, and I hold record. Okay, so I have that there, and then I realized that I made a mistake because I don't want this on track 4. I want it on track 1. So like I said, press you see the blue bar down there? Those are representing your tracks. You press the lift button, go to track 1, and the drop button. So I lifted it and I dropped it, and then I play it. Excellent. So now I have a drum beat in the beginning of my song. And now I'm going to start something. Let's do a bass line, okay? So I'm going to change it to track 2 so I don't accidentally record over track 1. Recording over things is not good because you can't undo it. There is no undo button in this, in the OP-1. It's something you learn to live with. So if you're thinking, oh my God, I would hate that, don't worry, you learn to live with it. I've made so many songs with my OP-1, and I did make a couple mistakes at the beginning, but it just got easier as time went on. Okay, so I'm in 2. I'm going to go to the beginning of it, and I'm going to go to synthesizers. Right now, the first screen that it's showing is the effects, or the LFO screen, because that's what I was on last. Let's go here. Looks like a sine wave. It's a sine. This engine, this is 1. Remember what we did with the drums? We want to change it. We can press 1, like shift and 1 gives us the list of all the synth engines, as well as a sampler. But all the synth engines up here, okay? And depending on what it is, you can audition them while you're in that screen. You can also change the octave by pressing these buttons here. And I can use the green knob to change the different presets inside of that engine, use the blue knob to change the engines. So right now we're on cluster. If you press 1 again and you look at it, this is what the engine looks like. It's basically constantly running this thing. Okay, so this engine sounds like this, and I can use effects in LFO to further modify it, but for the sake of the review, I'm not going to, or for the sake of this tutorial, I'm not going to. Just use the knobs up here to change the sounds. I'm not sure if shift works. I think it does minor movements. Yeah, if you hold shift, it does minor movements to those little dials up there. Now, I don't really like this engine very much. Not for what I'm trying to do at the moment. Remember, there are 8 different engines or presets up here, and you can change them at will. So let's listen to 2. You can hear there's actually a delay on there. So if I go to my effects screen, yes, there is. It's a different kind of delay. Okay, that's an interesting one. That's called grid. We're going to go change this to, oh, because this is a bass line, we don't really want an effect. This is 2, right? Yeah. Okay, that's a decent bass sound. You've seen, I just pressed 2, which brings me to my envelope screen. 1 is the actual engine itself, and I can adjust the sound. This is the wave shape. We've got sawtooth, square, and the last one is probably sine. But there's 2 sets, so. Okay, so. All right, so decent enough bass sound. Hopefully it comes through okay on the video. Okay, we're going to do a very basic bass line as well. We're just going to do a repeating bass line of, let's say, 4 notes. So I'm going to go to my sequencer right here, and I already have something in there. Let's hear what it is. Very basic. Let's turn the octave up a couple just to hear what the actual notes are. Remember, this is your core note right here. Anything higher will be a higher pitch. So it'll start at a higher pitch but play the same sequence. Let's turn the speed up a bit, 1/16. Okay, I don't really like that one, so let's write in a different bass line. Let's try that, okay? So we're going to turn this on. We're going to hold the shift button and made a mistake there. I'm going to use the back button right here, the arrow key while, oh, sorry, one sec. I got to pause the video for a second. Okay, I'm back. Just had a delivery at the door, food delivery. Okay, so let's try again with the bass line. No. Okay, let's try this. A little bit basic. Let's try one more time. Let's have a little variation between those. Remember, if you make a mistake in there, you can press the forward or backward button like that. You can also do your spaces in there. So that simple pattern right there is just sound, sound, space, 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 sound, sound, space. That's just by doing that. But I'm going to do a repeating one for this. So. Okay, let's have a listen. Pretty basic, but whatever. It's just for the purpose of this video, we will keep it brief. So go back to our tape here, and first we can audition it and see how it sounds together. So I'll press play and the core note button again at the same time and see what it does. Not bad. If you don't like the sound that you've done, so I'm going to go back to the synth page right here and hold it here while playing different sounds. It's still the best one out of all of them. There we go. That's a bit more smooth. So let's record it in there. Make sure you're not on the same track that you wrote the beat on, otherwise you're going to record into it. Every time, if I were to record right now, it would record the beat and the bass line together. So just for the sake of trying it out, I can fix it after, but it's a little complicated. But let's do this right now. Okay, so, oops, I've just put my beat and my bass line on the same track. How do you fix it? Well, unfortunately, if you're late in your song and you've done this and you don't have the original part of that track in another part, like an earlier part of the song, then you have to redo it. So in this case, it's going to be kind of easy because I've just started and I have both the drum and the synth sequences already written. So I can press the lift button, dink, up it goes, and then I can go to drums right here. That's the drum I did. If I press the record button, it'll bring me right back to the tape screen. That's kind of a little shortcut. So I'll press the record button and the core note. We don't want to go higher like that. All right, so stop. Delete that, press this, and start recording. Okay, so we've got that there. Go to 2, where I'm going to have my bass line. This right here is your mixer screen. So on your mixer screen, you can adjust the volumes of all 4 different tracks, okay? You can also have master EQ and master effects, which will affect the entire 4 tracks, and master LFO. No, this is not LFO. This is your drive and stuff. So going back here to our mixer screen, let's get out of the mixer, go back to the tape screen. We're on track 2. We're ready to record. We've got to make sure we select our synthesizer, then go back here. Good to go. Hold record. Oops, I just pressed the right button. Made that mistake. Just hold shift and the right button and it will bring me back to that starting point. Or I could, if I'm off, I could just press stop and it will bring me back to the starting point of that selected bars. Okay, hold record and here we go. Okay, very good. Now we have a drum and a bass line. Now, let's say you want to take both of these tracks and put them in the next 4 to work with them. There's 2 ways to do that. One, I could just lift this, drop it, it puts me at the end, and drop it again. Now I have that bass line going through from the first 4 bars into the next 4 bars. I can press stop to go back to the start of the selected area. I can click on track 1. I can pick it up. I can drop it and drop it again. Now the next 4 bars have both the drum and the bass line. But there's a kind of easier way if you want to take everything. And that is, I'm just going to lift these 2 here. Let's go back to 2 right here. Lift that. Press stop. Go back to the start. If you hold shift, you will copy all 4 bars. So press as long as it's under 21 seconds. If it's more than 21 seconds, it won't do it. So that's why I recommend working in 4 bars, because your 4 bars are generally going to be less than 21 seconds, which means you can lift all the bars. So, or all the tracks. So I'm going to hold the shift button, I'm going to lift them up like this. It's got it. Then I'm going to drop them and drop them. And now I have, if I press 2 here, that makes that the new endpoint. Hold shift, go back, 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 back. 4 bars, press 1. Now I'm working in these 4 bars. And I've got everything I need. So let's put in track 3. Let's record something to track 3. When you lift all 4 bars, it will show that there's something in track 3 and track 4 now. It's just silence. If you want to hear a specific track alone, you can hold the button for the track and you'll play just that track. If I hold 2, I play both. 3 is empty, 4 is empty. So we're gonna record something melodic for track 3, and I'm gonna do my best to play it by hand. So on track 3, I am going to select synthesizer. I'm gonna try, I don't really like this, so let's hold shift, press 1, and try out our different sounds. Also make sure your octave is higher for the non-bassline sounding tracks. Oops. That's kind of intense. Oh, you can hear it's doing this. I still have my sequencer enabled, so I'm going to press this button and disable it. Go back to my synths right here. Okay, go back in here. Keep doing that. That's a very long sound. Okay, for this here, I could play it by hand, but I think I can also use the sequencer to make something that kind of goes nicely to it. And because the song is so, I don't know, repetitive, it'd probably be good with a repetitive additional sound. So I'm going to go in here and then perhaps turn up the octave a bit. So hold shift. That's kind of a crazy intense sound. Intense, but maybe we should make it a little bit longer because it's 4 bars and this is only 2 bars. So I'm gonna do something similar, but make it a little bit varied. Okay, so I'll press play and the core note at the same time. That'll work just fine. So let's go back to the tape here. I'm going to turn 3 down a little bit. I'm going to turn 3 down to 70. This is actually on selected to track 4 right now. Whoops, let's go to 3. Because here, if I play it track 4, track 3, track 2, all the sounds are different, like all the sound levels are different because my mixer has them set to different things. So according to whatever track it's on, it's going to be louder or quieter. So we're going to put it on track 3. Whoops, that's the wrong one. We're going to put it on track 3, and I'm going to turn it down even more. Where did I do that here? 3. Yeah, I don't want it to dominate the song. So go in here and hold record and go. Okay, so we now have 3 tracks. Now, it's important to remember that you can actually overdub infinitely on each of the tracks. I say infinitely, I've heard stories of people saying that it kind of slows, like it can mess up the song if you do that. But I've never hit a limit myself, and I've put like 4 or 5 different things on one track. So you can overdub to your heart's content. The benefit of making the song the way I'm teaching you is that if I go and take this onto the next part, so let's just do that. Let's just hold shift. Let's lift all of these. Let's drop them. Then here where I've dropped them, I'm going to press 1 to set my starting point there. I'm going to drop them again. I'm going to press 2, and that's my new end point. So let's say I'm in here and I press record. You press record and play, and you don't have to play anything. So record and play, and now it's recording. I just made a mistake. Wow, I don't want that in there. What should I do? Well, I can lift this, and because I've re-recorded it, it's actually changed the length of that track. So lift them both. So 3 is now empty. And I can go back a little bit. Just hold that button. Go back a little bit. Now that this one is blue, that means that's the one that's selected. I can lift it, drop it again, and no problem. The mistake is now gone, and I've saved my work. So that's an important thing to remember if you're doing if your workflow is like this, working step by step. If you're going to overdub on any track at any point, make sure that you have like unedited stuff at some other point in the song so you can lift that and use it again if you make a mistake. Okay, so we've got 3 tracks. We're going from... It's kind of a cool sound. So you can... Here we've got the drum and bass line. Hold shift, go ahead by bars. Then we've got track 3 come in there. And then for the 4th track, I'm just going to press stop, and it's going to bring me back to the start here. For the 4th track, let me just turn on my Medusa here. For the 4th track, we are going to record in the Medusa. And I just got to hook it up here. Output. Okay, so I'm going to plug this thing in here to the microphone jack on the side here. Okay, good to go. Just 2 tuning my Dreadbox Medusa onto the. There we go. Now, my Dreadbox Medusa only has the ability to play like BPMs of whole numbers, and my BPM in here is 82.7. So the sequencer on the Dreadbox Medusa will be unusable for this part. So if you're doing something using other hardware, I kind of recommend using a BPM that you're actually able to use. Anyhow, I will just play this by hand. So, how do we hear the Dreadbox Medusa? Because right now there's no sound coming out of it. Well, we've got to press the microphone button. And it's pretty smart. If you have something plugged in, it will automatically choose that as the recording input. You can hold Shift and choose other things. If I hold Shift, so let's go back here. Go back to tape. If you hold Shift and press the microphone button, it'll bring you to a screen here. And you can choose different things. So you can choose between the jack right there, the radio. I'm in China, so it's Chinese radio. And then the last one, I'm not sure what. I don't know what that is. Okay, so let's go back to the input and exit out of here to the tape screen. And I'm going to find a sound. Seems a little quiet. So what I'm going to do is, right now we're on track 3, track 4, here we go. If it's too quiet, what you can do is hold Shift and that there, and then you can use the red knob to turn it up. The white one is the trigger. So if you press record on the tape, press the record button on the tape, and it starts like recording, and you want to start playing. Actually, sorry, I'm getting this backwards. If you have the trigger set to a certain level, then you can make that start recording. So for example, let's just make sure on the track here, we're on track 4, so I have nothing to rec. Go back into here and press the record button. And it's not actually working. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, press this to turn it on and off. Okay. I guess I don't have it set to trigger. That's okay. Okay, I have pretty much the... Okay, so I'm just going to record this by hand, and here we go. That's a pretty terrible sounding recording job there. So a couple things, I don't really like the sound. Let's try a different patch on here. Goodness. That's pretty good. Let's try that out. So I'm just gonna hammer away on the Medusa while I record on here. And to start the recording, I'm gonna hold the record button and press play at the same time. So you don't have to keep holding record after, I think. Let's just see. Yeah, you don't have to keep recording. Keep holding the record button. I'm just gonna lift that part I did there. There we go, lift it. Go back to the start here. Hold record and press. little bit quiet. Let's go to mixer, see what the level is. Turn that up a bit. It's recording a bit quietly. So what we're going to do is, like before, hold the shift button, press the recorder, and amp this up a bit. A little bit loud. Turn it down a bit. Okay, I pretty much know what I want to do. Let's just lift that again and try again. I just have to turn it back on again. There we go. Made a bit of a mistake in there. Oops. Try one more time. So all I'm doing is playing this at the same time. Last time. Okay, so when it's done recording, like when I've finished recording in here, it's gonna actually loop back and keep like recording. So you'll wanna hit either the play button or the stop button when you're done to make sure that you don't record in some errors or whatever. But now I can overdub on here. So let's load another patch on here. Hopefully I can find a nice. Okay, let's record that in there. Now remember, also, I might make a mistake with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift it, drop it, and I don't have enough room on the end of this here. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to drop it here. So now if I make a mistake, I can take it back there again. That sounds about right. Okay, whatever. It's just for making the video here. So let's record. Okay, so I did make a mistake in there, but it's no big deal. Now that I've made that mistake, I can lift it up, go back a little bit so that that bar is highlighted, lift it, drop it, and drop it again. So now I have the part that I made, and I can try again. This is a bit of a quiet one, so I'm going to hold Shift, go into here, and turn it up a little bit. Not right now. Not right now. Okay, go back to tape here, make sure that it's on, likes to turn itself off. Okay, and press record, and Okay, so. All right, so that basically shows you how to make a track from start to finish. You basically just keep doing what I've done here, but add more bars and keep going. And I unfortunately am out of room on the tape right now. There's only 6 minutes on the tape. So that is something that you're going to have to learn to work around. But like I said, it's more of a musical notepad than a DAW. So you just do all the things that I've showed you and fill it all up and make yourself a song. And you can remove tracks, like sections of tracks and whatever, by, you know, hold shift and go bar, 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 like that. And you can change the start or the end. Okay, right now it's just start and end is right at the end there. Oops, move the end to there. We're going to go back to the beginning of it, and we're going to let it play through so you can see what the progression sounds like. Oh, but I have to remove bar 4 from here. Okay. Here we go. Okay, sounds pretty good. Maybe 4 is a little bit loud, so we'll go into our mixer here and we'll turn it down a bit. And because we want to audition it, we will go endpoint is here. From there, holding shift, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the start of our 4 bars. 1 to set the starting point. Pretty good. I'll give you a tip here. The way that I write, because you're working in 4 tracks and you probably want to put more things in it than just 4 things, I have my my mixer set up so that beat is on 1, bass line is on 2, and then there are 2 more tracks for other synthesizers or voice or vocals or whatever. Now, the reason I've done it like this is because I can make sure that if I want to overdub something, if it's quieter, then I can put it on the louder track. If it's louder, I can put it on the quieter track. That way I can kind of have this organization going so that I don't have something come in and it's way too loud. If you have a system with the way you organize your tracks and your volumes, wow, that just really messed it up. If you have a system with it, like I've just mentioned, then you can continue to overdub and add things, and you have a place for the quieter sounds or the louder sounds. Of course, it's up to you how you want to arrange your tracks, but that's just a little tip for you. The last thing is when you finish writing your song and you want to put it into an MP3 or whatever, you cannot do it on the device. So what you'll have to do is connect it to the computer and download the track files. And then from there, you'll want to put it into the DAW of your choice and arrange it into, you know, track 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you can make further adjustments to your track from there. You can do EQ and stuff like that, which I also forgot to mention. There is EQ on here. Let's quickly try out the EQ, okay? So I'm going to play it. Blue controls lows, green controls mids, and white controls high, and then red is like the master EQ for all of it. So let's try one more time and just use the red one. Personally, I like max EQ myself. It makes the loudest, but also the cleanest. So there we go. That's all set there. Yeah, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you have, then please leave a comment or a like or subscribe if you want to. And I especially love the comments. And I thank you guys very much for watching. Of course, I missed a lot of things in this review. In this video, there's so much more to the OP-1, of course. But I wanted to make this as basic as possible, even though it's already over an hour. But I wanted it to be basic to give people a starting point and to kind of see like how the workflow is on the OP-1. As I said, leave a message or leave a comment in the comment section down below if you want to. Give me a like, subscribe if you like videos like this and sometimes off topic. And I will see you guys later. This is Caedicus out.